So we're gonna start a new party, a new political party. And you think I'm like, why? Because if you look at the UK as a whole, it is absolutely dog shit. We literally have politicians that do absolutely nothing. I believe freedom is being censored and just for safety and concern. But to be honest though, that's just simply an excuse just so that we can heavily dive censor but also monitor the average citizen just so that we can arrest them. We have multiple cases in the UK where people were arrested based on what they were searching or even simply what they were saying, and it's absolute dog shit. And I believe this will not even help. And on that right, but free journalism is also a key thing. But in particular, I also believe in another thing: stop killing games and the removal and the repealing of the infamous Rosa petition, or AKA the motherfucking and basically the Online Safety Act is an act where it was shrouded as being something that it is. Like basically, the government online safety is far more restricted than let's say the free society. That's exactly what it is. Being much more restrictive, especially for the online safety. They try to go like, oh right, we want more safety, but at a concern of making it much more restrictive. I feel like this definition of part two covers online hobby forms, which we think we do not have the resource to comply with the act, and so are shut it down instead. Basically, online hobby forms are pretty much being used, and therefore this online safety act is pretty much being used in order to shut down their forms, making it even much more restrictive. Now that right, but the ID verification is coming to the UK across many platforms, including Discord, Roblox, pretty much any platform that has pornography on it. Or pretty much host pornography has ID verification, which is good until you can simply bypass it, which is absolute dog shit and just shows how restrictive it is. That Parliament should just repeal the act and work towards disproportionate legislation rather than risking clamping down on civil society, talking about trades, purples, video games, or even hamsters because it can't deal with individuals' bad faith actors. Exactly. Like, we simply have to be censored just so that we could, for the UK's sake. And I believe for Unity360, that's going to be our all new permanent party name. It would used to be Liberty, but it used to be Libertarian, but that Liberty 360, but of course it was a little bit libertarian, so you had to change to Unity 360. So, what we're gonna do was, since I'm 16, I cannot really sign up and run it myself. Instead, what I need is simply support. That is, having people in the party to simply support it, just so that it can work. Basically, our views align with the same views of the Stop Killing Games and the Repeal the Online Safety Act. But we also add a couple new things, like the Town and Country Planning Bill, which is pretty much a bill that was cited in 1947 to pretty much reduce and make it nearly impossible for the private sector to simply build affordable housing. And if we have this, and simply while this is active, it basically made it so right that we had to rely on the government and councils to simply fund buildings and projects to build massive housing and apartments, which is quite expensive. It's actually not that expensive, it but how the housing is, the housing crisis is within UK, it is quite expensive, and it's must because it's caused by this bill because there's not enough housing, especially for the rising population of the UK. Eradicating this bill would mean so right that the private sector of house building would increase, increasing the amount of affordable housing within the UK, therefore crashing down pretty much the housing crisis. It's kind of common sense, but the politicians are too blind in order to see this. Simply removing this bill will cause the housing crisis to simply level off and decline. What I mean by decline is the pricing of the average house would actually decline since there'll be much more affordable housing. And basically, how this works is that everyone, I mean, but everyone has to approve it. If, for example, the mayor does not approve the particular building of affordable housing, And if it's only face constructed, they can literally request it to be demolished. And on that right, but they could also reject. They have the power in order to simply reject building permission to simply build affordable housing, which goes all the way back to the UK government simply not giving a flying fuck about the housing crisis, even though they pretend to be. On top of this, fucking with the online community like myself, which I believe, in my opinion, it should not be a thing. So, what would I do? I'll probably switch this channel up just so that it fits with the audio scene of being at a political party. Of course, everything I said was in the past, as if in the past, and I will not apologize for anything I said within the past because simply, why the fuck are you using anything from the past in order to pretty much shut me up? It's pretty much freedom of speech and therefore right freedom of journalism. You can say whatever you want, I can say whatever I want, we can say whatever we want. That's a simple freedom that we have and the liberty that we used to have. And now it's sponsored by Unity, where we're not only gonna eradicate this bill, but also eradicate the online safety bill, bringing stop killing games as a law within the UK. On top of that, we will make sure that encryption is forced and enabled across many platforms. That means better internet encryption, and this will also increase privacy between you and someone else. Now that right, but reducing the amount of cameras and restricting the amount of cameras being placed around the UK, and making sure that police freedom is also restricted. We already have a few people in the Stop Killing Games that easily support this, and therefore it's kind of like an idea that I had at 3 a.m. that can simply work because it's the perfect time. Simply, Stop Killing Games is in full motion, while the Repeal the Online Safety Act is also in motion that is getting significant amount of popularity. If I manage to get in Parliament and manage to repeal it and change it just so that it actually mostly gives out not even more freedom but also more privacy and much more security, we will actually succeed. And if we also make sure that the Stop Killing Games movement also make sure that the Stop Killing Games movement will actually be a success in the UK, as it will be passed as a law, and it will be a debate, and hopefully when I'm 18, there will be not a time for a debate. I hope the debate didn't go through, because if I have a debate there, I will heavily favoritize it and heavily force it upon Parliament in order to support it. And also this, because simply the UK does not know what the fuck they'll be doing. And it's mostly done by old people, and I believe a 60-year-old like myself, who's extremely fucking young, should also just put themselves out there. Like, even though I have no qualifications whatsoever, currently, I have to wait to fucking replacing it with something better. What would be better? Well, enhancing the freedom. Basically, not arresting anyone based on what they say, and giving more privacy to these people by forcing encryption. And also making sure that you be consented to have your data sold, or to have your data simply be sold or sold. And if you do not consent to this, well, they would not allow, legally not allowed in order to simply sell your data. Therefore, right, your data is much more secure. Like that vibe, but we will also try to set up a way in order to simply make sure that your data and these data brokers will also be removed completely free of charge, hopefully. But that's just simply something that I see in the far near realm. And this is something that I just see in the future of this. On top of this, I also see as having a VPN to increase privacy. But both the data broker removal tool and the actual VPN tool, of course, going to be free. But to be honest, though, they're just something I just see in the future. That's it, the fucking future. And trust me, when it's in the future, it's not really that good. Like, if you know what I'm saying, because simply it is a possibility, but at the same time, like, having a free VPN service and having a free service that simply relies on removing data is really expensive and costly for the UK. And I know that might also increase funding to the NHS, but that does not mean we're privatizing it. So privatize NHS UK protest group. I know that you all guys are literally dying because you're all about like fucking 800 years old, but like this ain't privatizing it. We're just making it a lot more better by giving it a lot more funding. Because if the NHS gets a lot more funding, not that right, but a lot more freedom, right, to send data between each other, it will increase efficiency in the NHS, and it will make so that it's a lot more clearer. Having like one national database center where all the data is stored, and then having like multiple hospitals have access to that will be a lot more efficient because they don't have to request it from different hospitals. They can just simply get it from a server that is quick and simple. Not that right, but it'll be quite easy to literally access when you're in the hospital. But we also make sure that because this is such a vital piece of data, it'll be encrypted heavily. It will make sure that all the security measures are in check. Like anyone who has access to it will also have two-step verification enabled on themselves. And on top of this, we also make sure they have passkeys also. So we're gonna make sure that we also amp up security based on it and the general security of it, not only within the UK government but everywhere else included. Because simply having that as increasing security as for a national database server, it will increase it, but it will also make it a lot more secure and a lot more efficient, which we all gonna love at the end of the day. And that's what I'm mostly thinking about. I will continue to update based on what I really want. But in the meantime, I will actually try and figure out how to simply sort everything out. I will eventually have a Discord separate from the Retrospects Discord, which is specifically made to simply chat about the party, really, what you guys want within the party, any suggestions to add to it. Because simply, we can't just. Because all they have is a couple basic ideas, and that's it. And we can add more ideas if you want, like any good ideas, because I'm just simply one guy, that's it. If you can have more people to it, well, we will actually, if you can have like a lot more stuff to it, it'll be a lot more better. And not that right, but it'd be a lot more clear to us of what the average UK person wants. I love how I'm kind of rambling on because I don't know what else to say. I kind of said my piece, and if you want one, you can just simply add your piece to the Discord server. And also, I almost forgot, green belts. They'll also be removed because simply green belts absolutely suck. If we actually remove the green belts and let them expand, about 80% of the UK would still be engroved with nature. So we actually, in fact, gonna remove the green belt because the green belts are literally shit, and the green belt land is very shit. So why don't we just build upon it? Just cover up the shitty land. Yeah, we're just gonna remove the green belt as a whole. So, and you green belt supporters out there, aka they wanna be farmers, what is the point of defending a land that looks like Peppa Pig's swamp? So, and also, I don't know if I keep proposing started, but there's one more thing I'm gonna add. Everything is heavily inspired by Brit Monkey's Britain is a Dope video. I highly recommend it if you watch it because it is not a real good video, but it goes into a heavily good detail of what the fuck is wrong with the UK and what we're gonna do in order to make the UK great again. Simply, if we add every single recommendation that this person had made within this video, that's simply a good enough constitution already. And then if we add on top of that multiple other videos, see what they are, we will also make it so that it'll be a lot more better. It's based on research, really. It's just based on research and what people actually think. But I actually recommend check out his video and subscribe to this channel because peak content. And I'll see you guys later.